Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of the Marketing Innovation Podcast Show. We are here today with Roland and we will discuss the 3 most effective ways to raise brand awareness online for B2C brands this autumn. So to give a bit of context for our discussion, as advertisers are now more and more present in the lives of us as customers, and we get to see up to, let's say, 10 advertisements from brands every minute, almost, and 10 different brands, it's very important to, as a new brand or as a brand that wants to capture your customers' attention, to be able to reach them in a way that they will remember you. So awareness is one of the things that brands are fighting over very much, and it's also one of the metrics that is really, really hard to measure in a marketing scenario. So today we will discuss what are the best ways in which brands can engage with their customers to raise awareness this autumn. And we will also focus on some of the platforms that are developing native solutions for advertising. So luckily, technology is getting integrated better and better into marketing. And we have found here at Marketiu a couple of ways in which you can use your budget very effectively, and you can also report very well on your raising awareness activities. So, Roland, let's dive a bit deeper into the subject.
Yeah, so me, again, being the technical side of the podcast, I'll ask more questions about the marketing and social dynamics of the business. And you can also give a clearer look on how small businesses can compete with the big ones. So diving in, can you tell me more about the first things a brand should be looking into when it's about raising awareness online?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with a more non-traditional way of marketing and advertising online, which is something that we provide in-house as well more recently, and it's something that we are really excited about here, and that is Spotify advertising. Now, why is Spotify advertising so effective in terms of marketing? Is because the platform developed very much in terms of the ways in which it lets companies advertise to customers and listeners. And also, most of the audience on Spotify is ad-supporting audience.
Is it? What's the percentage between premium and free ones?
I think at the moment is about almost just over 60 with almost 40. So it's just over 60% that is ad-supporting audience, so non-premium.
Oh, really?
And then almost 40%, I think, internationally are premium users.
So there's a big market there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I think it gets to about 90 million of ad-supporting users at the moment, which is huge. And mainly UK and America, there are some amazing markets in which you can use this. So a couple of things that get us excited for our listeners here are because the platform is new, the competition from brands wanting to advertise here is not yet very strong. So for this reason, the costs per ad served, so per ad that the listener hears to the end, are in many cases lower than platforms renowned to be very cost effective, such as Facebook or Instagram. If you want an example of this, let's say when Google and Google AdWords were in the very beginning, in the early 2000, you might remember that the cost per ad or cost per search displayed ad was very, very low. But as the platform became more mainstream and the competition grew more, the cost raises. But because Spotify is still in the early stages, then it's a great moment on which you can start advertising here at a much lower cost than it will be, let's say, in 1 year or 2 years when this will become more mainstream.
What are the reasons why it's so effective?
So as we mentioned, ads cannot be skipped by non-premium users, which is the majority of users. So this means they have to listen to the whole ad, which is about, let's say, up to 30 seconds. And this massively increases the chances of brand recall as opposed to other mediums, mainly as customers are not yet as used to hearing audio ads when listening to on-demand music. Let's say, as they are to seeing visual ads on their mobile devices on YouTube, let's say, or things like this. So it's a new medium. And one thing, I mean, thinking about the interruption of the experience on the platform, usually this is not advisable from an advertisement point of view, But why Spotify is different is because users that are non-premium, they expect to receive ads. And actually, they use the platform knowing that, oh, okay, I'm streaming music, but I will have to listen to ads from time to time in order to keep this free usage of the platform. So they acknowledge it, they know it, and they don't get surprised by hearing the ads. But because, again, it's a new medium, then they will be more receptive to the ad itself, so they will be more likely to memorize it because it's not happening that often. So they don't hear an ad every 5 minutes, they hear an ad every 20 minutes or half an hour. And also, the ads are delivered in an audio format, and as the voice platform is growing very much at the moment, and if you want more information on this, you can listen to our other episode on voice adoption, or you can have a look on our Medium page. But what this means is that this allows the brand a higher direct engagement with the listener because it's no mute or skip option in the platform, like on Spotify. And also in these ads, you can include a call to action that will display on the screen of the phone. So for example, you can include in your ad for more information or to redeem this offer, click on your screen or something like that. And then you can have the customer to go straight to your page from the phone. So it's a really good element of the customer journey.
So which audiences do you think would be the best for this?
I would say brands that want to advertise to millennials or Generation Z. This is probably so. Really, the main users of the platforms are probably people between 15 and 35, I would say. So if your customers are around there, but I would say probably people between 20 and 25 are the biggest users. So at the moment, I think that's the majority of the Spotify users. If your customers are there, then I would say this would be a very, very, very effective platform for you. But also going a bit lower and a bit higher, probably anywhere between 17, 18 and then 30, 35. If your customers are there, then definitely include Spotify in your advertising because the cost is much lower than other platforms that are competing for this customer pool's attention, and also the recall is going to be better. So there was a massive amount of success last year as well, but that was from major brands like Smirnoff or Bacardi, or I think even Captain Morgan had a campaign, but obviously they were alcoholic brands, so you have to advertise. If you are an alcoholic drinks brand, you have to advertise only to people over 18. However, they had a massive success, and all at a much better cost than if they say they were running, they were investing the same budget in other platforms. But again, if you want to find out more, or if you are, let's say, a brand that wants to explore this path further, just write us at hello@marketiu.com, and we'll be happy to explore this further with you. Obviously, no initial cost and no strings attached, so just a friendly conversation.
Right. So moving forward, let's go back to social. How would you compare Spotify with the usual suspects, Facebook and Instagram?
Well, obviously, Facebook and Instagram are still very important in the mix, and actually, it's probably the second point that we'd go for in terms of driving brand awareness. So the first one would be Spotify, mainly for awareness, and then Facebook and Instagram are really good as well. However, one thing to keep in mind is that Facebook and Instagram are becoming very mainstream, so the cost per engagement or per reach is going to be higher than it was before, and also depending again on your customer pool and your competition from other brands, you will find probably that the results will be a bit harder to measure in terms of the next actions. I would suggest always to try to create a mix of, let's say, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram, and then other elements that are relevant to you. But still, Facebook and Instagram remain the two of the most popular social media platforms, and they are very, very effective in terms of targeting and delivering the ads to exactly the audience that you want to. So they have stuff like behavioral targeting as well, and you can create a very good customer persona on these platforms. So we still remain as an agency huge ambassadors of the social media advertising, and for the awareness stage especially, making it work in a cost-effective way will require brands to integrate it with a broader set of cross-channel campaigns and not only rely on social to drive brand awareness. So as I said, trying to create more of a system that bounces around the customer interaction online. Let's say, for example, like to give a couple of tips in terms of this direction, in order to make it effective, we tend to work with our clients to identify the exact media consumption behavior of the ideal customer persona or ideal customer, and then deploy awareness campaigns based not only on this, but also on third-party data and the integration of the desired audience with our clients' websites as well as their competitors' platforms. For example, having highly targeted ads only to people that visited the website, let's say, or to people that visited our our clients' competitors' websites. So because this means that they would be interested in that type of brand, and we can drive awareness of our new brand, let's say, or our client's new brand, in order to bounce the audience from them to us. But if you choose to set up your social awareness campaigns in-house, I mean, obviously we can help with this, but if you want to do it your side, then just make sure you push these ads at your customers as part of the customer journey with your brand. So the customers that receive your awareness ads have to be in the beginning of their customer journey with you. So make sure that you create a system with at least one other communications channel with your awareness campaign. So again, the other communications channel may be Spotify, as we just discussed about it, or anything else that is relevant to your customer behavior and where they consume media or where they look for information.
An interesting thing to mention is that you haven't really talked about Snapchat. How do you see it now?
I would say that Snapchat is a bit later in the customer journey. I would think that also is very much more directed to audiences, let's say, I mean, America probably more than the UK, and then the customers on Snapchat tend to be a bit more, like a bit younger, and also usually I would think that awareness might be better on these platforms, and then if you want to drive engagement or interest, which is a bit later in the customer journey, then you can include Snapchat as well.
How do you compare the current Instagram marketing strategy with one built on Snapchat?
I would think Instagram is better in terms of targeting the ads exactly to where you think they will get the customer to the next stage, because you have the story setting where you can, kind of like drive conversion through that. You also have influencers, which I will discuss. I mean, that's the third point, so we'll get into that in a minute. And also it's very good because you can integrate with Facebook and you can use this very targeted way or this customer persona. So in terms of the targeting, I would say that still Instagram and Facebook are the best. Snapchat not that much yet. And also I think that in terms of the user base, again, Facebook and Instagram have a much wider adoption. And because we are discussing now the three main points, I would include Instagram and Facebook rather than Snapchat in these three.
Mm-hmm. And mentioning influencer marketing, I think it's a good time to get into the third point here. So tell me more about it. How do you think it's going to impact brand awareness?
I think that influencer and micro-influencer, which is like a bit of a newer term, but we'll explain it in a bit. They are very good ways of marketing because very much they take the transmitter from the brand which tries to advertise to somebody like a friend or somebody you admire online that tells you about that brand. So the barriers in terms of the customer's perception and adoption of the brand are going to be less high if they hear about the brand from a person or somebody they admire online rather than the brand itself, because obviously nobody really likes to be advertised to in an intrusive way. So if we go back in history, and even today, word of mouth has always been an effective way of customer acquisition, and we as humans always trust more the opinion of the ones close to us or the ones who we admire. So as most things are moving online now as well, influencer marketing has seen great results from brands choosing to go down this route. Now the main reasons for brand awareness is because the message is going to the person, as I mentioned, and then the recommendation comes as well from that person. And now another thing that is really cool with influencers is that usually they don't have only one platform. So let's say there is an influencer on Instagram that has a lot of followers, but usually what you might discover is that they also have a YouTube channel or a blog or both, or they are very popular in terms of like other platforms like Snapchat, as you mentioned. So as a brand, you can very well negotiate with them a mix of advertising your brand on their channels in a way that is very good for you. So if you know that your customers are engaging a lot with video, you can choose to negotiate a package of Instagram and YouTube. If you know that they are reading blogs and stuff like that, you can go down a blog post or a couple of blog posts sponsored by you, and then Instagram. So it's a very big opportunity here to mix and match depending on your customer preferences.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the micro influencers. How do you compare them to the big influencers?
A very good question. And actually, this is something that I think will be very valuable to our listeners as well. Basically now on Instagram, let's say, it's a lot of accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers, but actually they are not that real, if you want. So it's not going to be, unless they are very big celebrities. There's many models or accounts that try to grow their accounts non-organically and using bots and stuff like that, which can be misleading if you are choosing to collaborate with influencers that you don't have much experience. And also because they have so many followers, they cannot be as engaged with their community as, let's say, if they had a smaller community. So that's where the term micro-influencer comes into place. Is they are also influencers, but with smaller audiences. So usually up to 10 or 15,000 followers on Instagram, or up to 5,000 on YouTube, or 1,000 on their blogs. So why are they important, and where can they contribute to your brand? As mentioned, they are perceived usually as having a more engaged community with which they tend to interact more closely. And therefore the recommendation effect that we were discussing about. So when they tell their community, oh, I got this awesome bag, or I have this new watch, etc., the community is gonna listen more. So the probability of conversion here is generally higher than when collaborating with a bigger influencer. So conversion rate, as in from 100 of people that viewed the post, how many actually bounced on the website, or how many purchased the product through an offer code. Also, the prices for collaborations with micro influencers are generally lower. So this can enable a brand to create a genuine social influencer campaign with more micro influencers, rather than putting all their money in one basket, let's say, and only collaborating with one major influencer for one single post.
Yeah, makes sense. So to sum up, you'd say that trying to get more micro influencers that have a more trustful relationship with their followers is much more of a bang for the buck compared to having a big one. Yeah,
I would say so. And mainly if the company is not that big, so they can afford both major influencers and micro influencers, I would personally advise to start off with a couple of micro influencers to, tap into the more communities. And then as the attention grows, obviously the brand will get more interest from other micro influencers that will see. It's usually like it's gonna create like an effect of micro influencers approaching the brand. So then you'll be able as a brand to develop a wider network as well. And ultimately, as you said, it's a much better return on investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so that was it in a nutshell. Guys listening, I hope this offered you a good amount of value and a bit more direction in terms of where you should you put your money for driving brand awareness. Now, specifically, this is very, very good for B2C brands. So if you are a fast-moving consumer brand or a fashion brand delivering to customers individually and not businesses, then these are the three places where you should look to invest in terms of driving brand awareness, if brand awareness is your aim for this autumn. And as we said, and as we always say, if you need a hand with anything, we are here to help. So if you have any questions, or you'd like us to, support you in any way, just write us at hello@marketiu.com, and we'll be happy to carry the conversation forward and help you in any way. Until next time, have an awesome day, and we'll speak soon.